In this video, we're going to check if there are any errors related to the new password or confirmation password fields. So first, we're going to check if the new password is missing. Then we're going to check if it's valid, meaning that it's got at least 6 characters and 1 capital letter and 1 number. And then we're going to check if the confirmation password is missing. And then we're going to check if the confirmation password matches the new password. We've done something very similar in the sign up file. Okay, so all I'm going to do is go back to exactly the same code and copy it from there. Okay, so this is the section where we got the passwords. So we checked if the first password is missing, and then we checked if it fulfills the different conditions, so at least 6 characters, and we've got 1 capital letter and 1 number. All right. And then we moved to the second password. So we checked if it's missing, and then we checked if they match. All right. So let's copy this piece of code. And use it here. Okay, by the way, we just need to make sure that the names of our fields are correct. So if you look at the profile.php file and go to the form, you will see that we used password as a name for the first field and password2 as a name for the second field, exactly the same way we've done in the signup.php file. Okay, so later on, when we want to refer to the new password, we can use the variable password, okay, or variable password2, because they both hold the same value, okay, if everything is fine. So now we're going to check if there is an error. We're going to print an error message, okay. So we're going to check if the variable errors is empty, okay. So if errors is not empty, then we're going to echo an error message. So again, inside errors, we've got all the paragraphs concatenated, paragraphs referring to the different error messages we defined at the beginning. So all we need to do is place those paragraphs inside another variable containing divs. So let's call this variable result message. And let's place inside this variable a div and have our errors variable inside. So we need double quotes instead of single quotes if you want to use the variable straight away like that. Otherwise, you're going to need to use dots. Okay, so let's add a couple of classes to style this div. So alerts and alerts danger. Okay, and we're going to echo that variable. You can call this error message or result message as you like. All right, now if we have no errors, okay, then we're going to run a query and update our password. But before we do that, we need to prepare our password variable before we run a query using that variable. So we're going to change this variable to the output of the function MySQLi real escape string. Right. So again, this is going to take a couple of parameters: our link variable where we stored our connection and the password variable. So now we are ready to use that variable inside a query. So let's write our query. So what we're checking here, well, what we're doing here, we're updating the password basically. So to update the password inside our table users, so the syntax is update our table users, and we're setting the column field password to the value of our variable password. That's the new password. And the condition is user ID equals the current user ID, which we stored inside the user ID variable. All right. Okay. Now let's store the results of the query inside the results object. So we're going to run the query using MySQLi query, which will take our link variable and our query. Okay, now let's check if the query has run successfully. So if the opposite of results, meaning, so if result is false, okay, then that's going to be true. And then we're going to echo an error message. So let's echo something like the password could not be reset. Please try again later. Okay. Otherwise, if everything goes fine, we're going to echo a success message. And instead of alert danger, we're going to use alert success. And in that case, we're going to say your password has been updated successfully. All right, now if we try our code like this, the password will get updated, but the problem is that we haven't hashed our new password. So it's not going to get stored in a database like this, okay? So we need to hash our password before running the query actually. So the way we do that is similar to what we've done before. So we're going to use the hash function. So let's look for this function inside our code. So it's right there. So before running the query, we will need to hash our password like this. Okay. All right. So now let's save and refresh the page and try our code. So let's click on password. So let's submit with empty fields. Okay. So it gets the right error messages. We don't have a current password and we don't have a new one. Now let's give the current password. Let's give something incorrect. Okay, that's incorrect. Let's give the correct one. Great. Now let's give a new password. And let's confirm it. Okay, and now it says our password has been updated successfully. So now let's log out. By the way, we haven't implemented the logout functionality in the profile.php file. So let's copy it from our notes file. So it's just going to be adding a link to the logout. So let's save, refresh, logout. Now I'm going to try to log in with a new password. And it works. Okay. So in the next video, we're going to write code for changing the email address.